And they sent her home. And, they said, we'll just have to watch her heart from now on and see how she does. And she was home for 2 weeks, and she started showing the same signs all over again. This time we knew what it was. This time we took her straight to Chattanooga. And they immediately said, we need to put a feeding tube in her because she's not eating good, she's losing weight. So they had to put this feeding tube down her nose again, and they didn't put her in ICU right then. But each day she got a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And finally they put her back in ICU. And she'd been in ICU there, almost 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
And they came out one morning and they said, we had to put her back on the ventilator again last night. And he said, we're going to have to fly her to Atlanta. They had been trying to get her to Atlanta during that 2 weeks, but they kept saying there was no beds available in their PICU. He said, we got to fly her there now, whether there's a bed or not, and we have to get her on the heart transplant list, or she's not going to be with us. So, you have to tell that part about the helicopter because I can't get through that one.
They told us there's no other option. We have to fly her, we have to fly her now. So they put her on the bed, and pushed her up to where the helicopter is, and we followed close behind. And Tammy made it, almost to the helicopter pad, and she just collapsed. She just couldn't take anymore. And I stayed with her. Excuse me, I get a little bit emotional. And they started putting her on the helicopter. I give her a kiss on the head, and I'm telling you, that's the hardest thing to do, is knowing that when she gets to the other end, she may not be alive anymore. But as a father, it really, really hurts, But once again, we just put our faith in God. And they was excellent with her, and once they got her down to Atlanta, they actually called us and said, okay, we're here, she's good, they got her settled in now, and we was driving close behind.
And the pastor that took us there at the time was our associate pastor, who was Harold Petit, who we still love dearly to this day for doing that for us. When we got down there, they had her, it was so different than Chattanooga because they had her on way more IVs, and it's so much of a bigger hospital. And that PICU is huge in Atlanta, if you've ever been there. And the doctors came in and told us she was the sickest child in their PICU. And the nurse that she had when we got there was awful. She didn't believe in God. She just was so cold with Megan and so rude. And Gene walked in and he said, well, how does she look? What do you think? And the nurse said, oh, she's bad, she's going to die. And, just really bad. And
she just sat there reading her book like, nothing really mattered. And I said, I've been watching the monitors trying to figure out, what she's doing good or bad. And I said, how's she doing? She looked at the monitor, she's going to need a heart transplant. I was looking for just a little something there, not so cold.
And she told us she didn't believe in God. She made that well known to us. So, they do the shift change at 7 o'clock, and you're not allowed back there between 7 and 8. So I went downstairs and I just prayed. I said, Lord, please, don't let us have another nurse like that. And I said, Lord, just send us a Christian nurse, please. And I finally fell asleep. It had probably been days since I had slept. I fell asleep in the waiting room, and the next thing I knew, Gene was waking me up. It was after 8 o'clock, and he said, you got to get up here right now and be her night nurse. He said, it's a man, and he's a Christian, and he's wonderful. And this man, I was always thinking about, can the men take care of her like the women nurses can? And I would pick him over anybody. Megan's got eczema real bad, and every night he would just rub her down in mineral oil, and she didn't already have no hair, and he put little hair bows in her hair, even though she was paralyzed and sedated. And he would come in, and the first thing he would do is pray over her. And we had some nurses, and we put a stop to it. They would come in and turn. She had a CD player in there that they would come in and turn on a rock station or something, and we would say, don't do that. We want Christian music played over her. And Glenn would come in, and he would always have CDs ready to put in there to play Christian music over her. Anyways, to sum that part up, when she left PICU and went to the CICU, He was her primary nurse there. When she went to the CICU, his wife was her primary nurse in the CICU. They're now her godparents.
She's just as good as he is.
Yeah.
They're both just awesome people.
But while she was in the PICU, there was no getting better. She would get worse every day. Her organs started to shut down, not just her heart, but everything. There was days that her heart rate would go up to 220. There was one night that they said her heart rate is 220. They said, we got to give her the shot to bring her heart rate down. But if we do this, it could stop her heart altogether. And she's going to die. Well, what do you do? I said, you know, we would always come back to the doctor, and what if it was your child? What would you do? And he said, well, you know, y'all pray about it and let us know. We went downstairs and we prayed and for God to give us the wisdom. Do we let him give her the shot, or what do we do? And when we got back up there to tell him, go ahead and do what you need to do, they came out and they said, her heart rate's come back down. We don't need to give that shot. So God took care of that, and over the next few days, she just kept getting worse and worse.
What do you come up with? Angels?
Oh, a friend of ours, and y'all might know him because he lives here in Murray County. As a matter of fact, he's just now got back in church himself. He was a preacher at the time. His name's Winston Tate. And he and his wife came up there to pray over Megan. And we wasn't there. We had gone to get some lunch. We never left the hospital. We was down in the cafeteria. I mean, we didn't even go to the Ronald McDonald house. We never left the hospital. And when we came back up, Connie and Winston was coming out of her room, and Winston just was crying, and Jean said, did you get to see her? And he said, yeah, I've got to tell y'all what happened. And we said, what? And he said, the night before Connie and Winston came, me and Jean went in, and Jean prayed. He said, Lord, put a hedge around her where nothing else can hurt her. And Winston didn't know nothing about this prayer that Jean prayed. Hadn't even talked to Winston. And he said when he walked in to see Megan in her ICU room, he said the Lord showed him angels camped around Megan's bed. He said he could plainly see that their wings was up and their swords was drawn. And he said it was like I couldn't even get to her to pray for her because there was angels camped around her. And he said I bowed my head and I said, Lord, I got to get to her to pray for her. And he said it was like the angels let him in to pray for her. And then when he was done, he had to step back away from her because he said there was just angels camped around her. And I believe every word that man said because too many things have happened to her. There's still angels camped around her. And so a few days after that, they called us up into the conference room and they said, all of her organs are shutting down. They said, we have to do something to get her a bridge to transplant or she's going to die today. And we said, what do you mean? And we knew nothing about this stuff. It's called an ECMO machine. I don't know if you all know what it is, but it's the most horrific thing you will ever see in your life. There's two huge tubes that went into her neck, and the machine was probably half the size of this stage, and it would pump all the blood out of her body and oxygenate it through all these machines and then put it back in her body. And it would run her heart and her lungs and her kidneys for her. They told us that her lungs was like wood. It wasn't no longer working. So we said, well, what's going to happen if we don't put her on this? And he said, she'll die before the day's over with. So we said, well, go ahead. And we signed all the papers. And they told us, you know, when they put you on ECMO, they have to put you on a blood thinner. And ECMO just automatically thins your blood. So she had 2 strikes against her right there because then she had the chance of a stroke because of the blood being so thin and a break and a bleed in the brain. So this was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and they planned to do it at 7 o'clock that night. And I said, will she be okay? until tonight. And he said, yeah, I think we'll be okay. And this way we can do it in an operating room in a good setting. And we can do it nice and calm and get it on her. About 3 o'clock that afternoon, Gene was in the room with her, and I'm going to let him tell this part because I wasn't back there. I was out there praying, and he can tell this part if he can get through it.
Probably 95% of the time, at least one of us was in the room with her. And it just happened to be me at this time. I was in there, and they had 3 or 4 nurses working on her, just doing different things. And I seen the one look up to the monitor, and then the other one said, "Get him out of here now." So they grabbed me and rushed me out into the hallway, and I knew something bad was happening right then. And I just stood on the corner just praying and waiting. And then wasn't long, around the corner they came with this big old machine and stuff.
I seen them coming down the hall with her. They was just flying. And they literally had to crash her onto that ECMO machine in the ICU. They couldn't get her to an operating room. And so probably, I don't even know time frames. May have been an hour. They finally came out and said, we have her on the ECMO machine and we have her stable. And Gene said, well, how many times did she lose her?
I said, is she okay? He said, yes, she's okay. He said, but we lost her several times. I said, what do you mean several times? He said, we lost her so many times, I quit counting.
So she did go into cardiac arrest, and you know, they had lost her several times. And I didn't know at the time, I didn't know until after we got her home, that they had packed her head in ice.
And I always said, at that moment, she did pass. She did, several times. And it always brings me back to Lazarus. And you know, it's like Megan died, and Jesus stepped up and said, Megan, come forth.
You didn't want her to go yet.
Wasn't her time.
And so she was on ECMO for 3 days. And that was the hardest 3 days of my life. And you can't imagine seeing your child on that machine. They keep her neck covered up so you can't see none of that. And on the 3rd day, we was up there and Gene was praying over her. And he'd start to pray and he'd stop. And he'd start to pray and he'd stop. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, every time I start praying, all I see is blood.
It's like standing in front of a waterfall, you just seeing blood just come down constantly. Then I'd step back, and I'd shake my head, and I'd step back in to pray, and that's what I'd see each and every time.
And that's what he told me, you know, just looked like it was blood. And I said, well, I'm going to run downstairs for a few minutes. And I went down to the restroom, and I was standing at the sink, and I was washing my hands. And I'd never experienced this before in my life, but it's like God spoke to me right then. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about what he had said. It's like God spoke to me, and he said, tell him that's my blood he sees, because she's washed in my blood. And I couldn't wait to get back up there and tell him, because I knew that then that she was going to be okay, because she's washed in his blood. And we got back up there, and we was praying over her. Her cardiologist came in, and he said, her heart is so big, we are going to have to go in and pierce the back of her heart to relieve some of that pressure, or it's just going to explode. And I said, what would you do if it was your child? Should we do this? And he said, yeah, we need to do this. He said, but I'm not going to lie to you. I do not know if she'll make it through this. So again, you know, I remember leaning up against the wall, and I just slid down. And I just thought, Lord, I just can't take no more. I just can't take no more. I said, please, just get her through this. And, you know, it was around that time that we just began to say, it's your will. You know, if she's yours, she's not ours. And if it's your will to take her home, she's fought. She has fought a long, hard fight. By this time, she had been in the hospital probably 3 months altogether. And so they took her back, and he